Now, I will say, for example, I know one of my nephews, although he watches horror movies, he's not the biggest fan of anything that's too heavily religious. So if like exorcisms or anything that kind of triggers you from watching a religious-based horror movie, then The Nun may not be for you. Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome to another episode of Ryan Reviews Everything, and we are talking about The Nun 2. This is directed by Michael Chavez, who is no stranger to horror movies. He did most recently The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, as well as La Llorona that came out in 2019. And so now he is back with The Nun. And in addition to that, we have Thaisa Farmiga, who comes back playing Sister Irene. Sister Irene is the main protagonist in the first one. And she's joined by Storm Reed, who stays with the job, from Missing to Euphoria to Suicide Squads, The Last of Us. And so now this is yet another role that she could put under her belt. So she plays Sister Deborah, who was a co-star or an ally to Sister Irene in this. And this takes place in 1956 in Italy come on, Gizzy. In France. And so being that it takes place in this, there's some mysterious murders going around the church, and who else but Sister Irene to go ahead and investigate it. And without anyone else's consent, Sister Deborah, once again played by Stormy Reed, comes along for the ride. And as she does more research and investigating, we find out that the nun is back for some revenge. She is back in business. Didn't necessarily get wiped out like Sister Irene thought in the first one. This is about hour 35, hour 40 minutes long. Definitely something you gotta prepare for. Once again, I'm a huge fan of horror movies. That's probably my number one genre. And also, in addition to that, I'm also kind of critical when it comes to jump scares. I don't like when they do it too much because then it kind of gets predictable. I really felt like the Nun did a great job of having like this nice balance between not overusing the jump scares. Pardon me. She does a great job not overusing the jump scares. But I will say, I did appreciate the way that Michael Chavez handled the jump scares in the sense that it almost felt like a misdirection, and it was done in a very clever way. Like, you get this build up and anticipation, and then you think something's going to happen one way, and all of a sudden, it's a completely different direction. It's literally as simple as that. And also, another point that I like, how some other scary movies, they'll do something kind of light, just like to almost make the characters second guess if the ghost is really here or not. The nun lets you know she's in the house, all right? There's no mistaking that. She lets you know that she's in the house, she's in the crib, and she is down for some revenge. There's no mistaking that. So the nun does appear throughout this movie several times before finally making herself a little more well known. So yeah, I highly recommend it, man. I am not trying to give too many spoilers. When you watch this movie, you definitely see what she's after this time around, like what's her purpose and so forth. And yeah, I really just enjoy it. Once again, I'm trying my hardest not to spoil it once again. Now, I will say, for example, I know one of my nephews, although he watches horror movies, he's not the biggest fan of anything that's too heavily religious. So if like exorcisms or anything that kind of triggers you from watching a religious-based horror movie, then The Nun may not be for you. Other than that, I highly suggest you go check it out. It just comes out, either Friday or Thursday. And love it or hate it, that's my review. Peace.